Hello friends, welcome to Universe of Naruto X. If you love Naruto what if stories and anime explanations, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now let's begin today's story. Danzo-sama man voice answered to him from shadows. Both dog and cat are on their way now. They should arrive any moment. At the same moment, another masked shinobi arrived at room silently. They have arrived. Danzo-sama. Finally, man thought out loud and rushed out of his office. Councilman Danzo's official office was next to all other councilman offices at second floor of Hokage Tower. He rushed his way through the corridors towards the Hokage's offices where he crashed unannounced. Room had 7 people inside already. First his gaze fell to the small yellow-haired boy who was lying on the desk unconscious. ANBU medic was working with him already. Pleased of this, he let his eyes wander around. Next, his gaze fell to 2 other black ops. Silver-haired man with dog mask on him and brown-haired man with cat mask. Kakashi the copycat and Tenzo of the wood. Of course, who else old Sandaime would send expect his 2 most faithful pawns. So, you're here, councilman. Old man with pipe said, looking the newcomer. What brings you here at this hour? Like you already wouldn't know, man said angrily. He usually carried himself as this pleasant man and got very rarely angry enough to loose this mask. But this was one of those reasons he would forget that mask. How come you have allowed this boy to gotten almost murdered again? I remember this is already 4th attempt this week and it's only Wednesday night. Now calm down, Danzo. 6th person on the room interrupted trying to calm him down. Hokage's advisor Homiya Mito old man but also Sarutobi's old teammate yelling won't change anything then explain to me how this happened again man said angrily he looked over to the standing ANBU explained dog side eat. We got a report saying that large group of people had gathered around the block 78 because we knew that the boy he pointed the yellow-haired boy on the desk Namikaze was living around that block. We left in a hurry. Cat-masked person continued. We arrived the area 4 minutes later. Large group had gathered around something we could not clearly identify, but we could tell that that group's intentions were hostile. Dog Senpai used the fire release. Great fireball technique to drive them away. Meanwhile, I myself infiltrated the group and recovered the small boy. We found out that the boy was Makoto Namikaze, who had several bad injuries. I gave him to Dog C who used Cage Bush and sending a clone to Andrew HQ to alert medical personnel while He himself rushed to here carrying the boy. Luckily his clone met the Robin-san who was on patrol duty at the moment as well and she rushed to here. Hokage's office. I myself followed all those group members using MKU Bush and no Jutsu would clone and identifying all the suspects who had fled the crim. Scene. After that I rushed to join Dog here. Silence fell to room that was only interrupted Medbia's movement while she worked on the boy. Sandaime looked dark cold village from his window looking extremely disappointed. I am sorry Manado. I've failed you again. He whispered sadly he knew that all the people were looking at his back. Even the medic Nin though she only gave quick glances because she had to keep working on the boy. Her long red hair was held back by Robin mask. Silence started to irritate heavily the bandage man. What are you going to do this Serbi? Are you going let this continue? Danzo asked leaning to his cane. There isn't much I can do. Old man turned to face all the people on the room. Council has been very strict what I can do and helping more than this would be testing my limits with this cowarded fools. Danzo thought but kept himself calm as possible. But before he could say anything, Dog cut him to it. It's not like I tend to agree with Danzo-sama on most of his ideas. Man began earning a frown from Danzo. But in this I agree strongly. If we continue to letting people hurting him so much and so easily, we should just finish him off to save them from the trouble. When he had said, everyone on the room looked at him terrified. Even Danzo eyes widened to copycat's idea. It seems that I've made my point. He stepped back, leaning back to the wall, showing he had spoken. Danzo hurried to agree on him. Exactly. Like I said earlier, this is already the 4th time in 3 days. Attacks are becoming more and more bolder and frequent. If we won't do anything, boy will die. He had without his amazing healing ability, but it won't save him forever. Serbi thought this. I agree on both Dog-san and Danzo-san Kaharu Utatane said nodding. Old woman had also seen this coming, but her agreeing had different reasoning. Me too. Homiera nodded as well. If you can't provide better protection on the boy, we could just as kill him and be done with it. I am getting tired for these late night alarms time after time. If you can't fix this situation, then kill him already. Leaving things way they or won't help anyone. Red-haired medic moved to cover little boy from glass-eyed councilman. It came to her naturally during her years as ANBU medic. She had seen things that even some of the experienced Junins would find disturbing. But she had never been this angry, especially to people on this village. How they could continue beating this little boy time after time, even though he hadn't done anything. The evil was inside him. Her teammates had to hold her almost every time she was on patrol duty so she wouldn't go berserk in the middle of the village. If that would ever happen, then they would see a real demon. Danzo also frowned at him. So all we agree that boy's situation must change. He hurried to change the subject. What have you thinking? Danzo Hokage asked, narrowing his eyes. I know that you wouldn't bother such theatrics without full plan. Let's hear it. Bandaged man frowned a little. He had hoped that he wasn't that obvious. But then again, Hokage wasn't the Hokage for nothing. I suggest that Makoto Namikaze will be entrusted to Mei into ANBU Black Ops care. Room fell silent. Even though this wasn't totally unexpected, it still was quite a shock still openly to request something like that. Both advisors started to state the disagreements. Naruto is madness. You think giving this boy to this man will improve anything? It will only make matters worse. That's the first time I hear you showing concerns over the boy. Danzo answered coldly. You must have better idea. Old man stepped back in lack of these. All day their eyes fell over the Hokage who had remained silent. After a moment, he narrowed his eyes and gazed on the man's only visible eye. That is very unexpected request, Danzo. This child is 4 years old. Man began and walked besides the desk where the boy lied still unconscious. His only visible eye was focused on him. He got kicked out from orphanage year ago after ending up almost bad condition as today. After that, we have been forced to stretch out our resources to aid him almost daily basis. As your own student, Jiraiya-sanin said that these attacks only harm the seal that was designed to hold Biju inside. It's only a matter of time before they do something they will regret by releasing Keilu. That's true. Hokage nodded, agreeing. But you still haven't explained why you want to take the boy to Anu with you. For the second time. Just like when he was a baby, he must be protected. Bandaged man started again to speak, and I can't think better place than under my own eyes in Anu headquarters. Room fell silent again. Third, Hokage blew out a cloud of smoke and thought it for a minute. He had to agree that Manado's son was in danger from the second he set his foot into the village, and that it was only a matter of time before they would harm the boy permanently or even worse, and he himself was out of ideas. Council had denied round-the-clock protection from the boy. Several of them wanted to see Yachiriki dead by the end of the day from various reasons. But that rose another question. Why you think Council would ever allow you? He asked finally. They didn't allow any other family to adopt him. So why would they allow you of all the people to do it? That is a good question, Danzo. Kaharu asked, narrowing her eyes. As you must know, that is way too dangerous for the boy and the ANBU Black Ops to let him to live side by side. It's like leaving a bomb inside our main forces base. One wrong move and we have lost all our ANBU units. You don't have to worry about the ANBU mom. Dog ANBU interrupted her. We in the force have taken a like to the boy. Almost every single one of us has saved his life at least twice, even if he himself doesn't know it. And my personal record is 7 times. Cat has 5. I've heard the bear has saved the boy 12 times. If something is starting to piss us all off as your indecisive attitude while waiting, the boy get Ting killed. And what you said about this bomb inside main forces base is just foo dog. Senpai, that's out of the line. Cat hurried to calm his friend. Someone had to say it. Silver-haired man muttered angrily, turning away. He couldn't stand any more. This his teacher and mentor had died saving the village, and this is how they repay him. Trying to kill his son time after time. This was going way too far, even if he had to take actions to his own hands. Calm down, Dog-san. Danzo looked at Masked Man. I share you feelings completely. So, Serbi, why don't you say your opinion on this? Old Hokage knew already opinions in the room. His advisor and his old teammates were against the idea, but Danzo and every ANBU in the room for it. He also was pretty sure of everyone's motives. His advisor wanted the boy dead. Simple. He knew that, like most of the council thought, if the families could not get the hold on the Yachiroki, no one should. At first, Sandaime had been pleased with everyone in his council when he had reinstated as Hokage due his successor death. Every family was willing to adopt Namikaze heir and Kayabi with it. Those two in one hand would prove very powerful cards in the game that they all played. Game of Thrones' first one was of course Uchiha. Man had stated him being friends with Yandere and it would in child's best interest to be in his family. Hyuga had reminded that he was Yande's old teammate and it would be a duty to raise his friend's son. Each and every clan had stated similar ideas. Only civilian clans were against the motion. But they had no real power in the council without a help of one of the shinobi clans. So they had remained silent for the moment. Even though their opinion was loud and clear, but after 3 weeks of arguing and without any resolve, they had compromised. Boy would be taken care by the ANBU for few years and then to orphanage when he was little older. Hokage was disappointed in himself for being so hopeful and in his council not being able to reach united agreement. But it wasn't anything to the feelings what he felt after Boy had been given to orphanage. Even though he carried his father's surname, Namikaze didn't give him any help. If anything, it made the matters worse. Constant beatings, bullied by other children, starving, and finally kicked out after a year. The idea of adoption had been opened again, but they never reached agreement. So, Makoto had been forced to live alone in his run-down apartment. Year after that they had finally reached the point where the old man too had lost his patience. But the council was clear on their opinion. If they didn't get the boy, no one ever should. He gazed to other side of the room to two waiting and us. Kakashi's opinion was clear. His teacher's son Tenzo of course agreed with him. To him Boy was only a boy and he couldn't stand treatment like this either. Finally he turned his head to look red-haired medic who was still working on Boy's several injuries. Akahana Misaki, codename Robin. She had stated several times her opinion on Boy's treatment in the village. He had also noticed that the woman had started to act more and more non-ambish around the boy. Several occasions he had seen women helping him from shadows during her patrols, like leaving an untouched bento to his road scaron. The bullying kids away and so on. He was sure that she would take care of him if she was allowed to, even if not. He sighed. For once, you thought an idea that I would want to follow. But as my advisor was sure to remind me, I can't without council's permission. He had rushed to continue when both his advisor were about to start protest. I understand that. Bandaged man nodded and looked the two elderly. But there is a way we can fool the council. Excuse me, Kaharu stated. Did you just said fool the council? Yes, I did. Man nodded, not raising his gaze from unconscious boy. Robin had finally stopped his treatment by killing him. What? Woman yelled, totally surprised. You can't be serious. Don't be hasty. And before you people jump to conclusions, let me finish. Danzo smirked a little at their reactions. Dog, cat, you were on the scene. How severe his wounds were. They were very severe. Cat masked person answered. Without medical treatment, he would have died almost certainly. There you have it. One-eyed man turned to face Hokage. Makoto Namikaze is dead, killed by an angry mob at the age of 4. Old Hokage nodded, understanding the situation. I can see where you're heading. You can't possibly hope to succeed, Homer said angrily. That is illegal, unethical, and insults the council. Room fell silent. Dog and cat gave quick glances to Robin, whose arms were slowly reaching to her weapons. There had been small hope for them. Small hope that Boy would found some sort of security and happiness. And if lucky, she could watch for him openly and not only from shadows like she did now. But now that Old was about to take that chance away, Dog gave small hand signal to be prepared just in case. Hokage had similar thoughts. But before either of them could do anything, Danzo slowly walked to him and whispered something to Man's ear. Something that must have a lot of effect on him because he stepped back gulping, trying to seem dignified as possible. His old teammates watched him, surprised how easily he had given up. When his fellow advisor tried to ask about this, he only shook his head. That's that then. Danzo nodded back to Hokage. There's an empty room near to my own quarters at ANBU HQ. He will stay there. I will look personally his training in shinobi arts and such. Wait just a minute. Sandame raised his hand. I haven't agreed with anything, especially training Makodokan here as some ANBU killing machine. He narrowed his eyes. You tested my patience with your Nei group. I will not allow you to use those barbaric training methods on him. Then what? Bandaged man asked, irritated. He must be trained. I agree on that. Hokage nodded while taking his pipe from his lips. But we must take his personality into picture. He wants to be Hokan in order to stop people hating him. Even after all this beating, he still wants them to acknowledge him. I owe to his father that to give him a chance. He will join the academy. Hokage-sama. They turned over to Dog. If I may, I don't think it's a good thing to let him join academy. Not at least until he can take care of himself and let the dust settle a bit. You think idea of letting people know that he is dead is good? Cad asked, looking at him little surprised. Yes. People are simpletons. Just this year has proven that. Silver-haired man nodded. Out of sight, out of mind. I am sure when the information of Makodo's death spreads there will be lot of. He grunted to image emotions on the air, but soon they will continue their lives and in few years they forget boy's existence. Makes sense. Hokage nodded. But what about his academy teachings? Ever since he found out about the place, he has been frequently asking to get there. How will we tell him no to that? He is still 4 years old. Kat pointed out it would take at least 2 more years before he could join the academy. But before that, it wouldn't hurt him to know little bit of basics before that. See. Serbi Danzo stepped forward. Everyone in this room agree on this. Right. Robin woman raised his face from boy. She had concentrated on petting the boy's hair. Yes. Danzo-sama. I too believe it would be in boy's best interest to live in HQ. Serbi nodded. Kat informed the military police that Makodo Namikaze is dead. His murders must be found. Shall I give them our own suspects? Brown-haired man asked. No, let themselves work on this. I am more than sure that Fugaku-san will do his everything in his power to find the criminals. Old man frowned a little to idea, even though clan head would have gladly taken the boy as his own. All of the great Uchiha clan was not that open-minded. Mikado had stated many times that when he had asked help from police officers, they had either ignored him or helped to beat the boy up. If they could do anything about it, their investigations would be short and firm. He could already see the report. In lack of witnesses and evidence against suspects, crime murders remains unresolved. Council would be satisfied, people would be festive, and the only people who knew the truth would be under Danzo's tight gaze. He was sure of it. Only remaining problem was, what about you two? Hokage asked from his advisor, who had remained silent. Will this be a problem to either of you? They looked quickly each other. Homura could feel his fellow councilman's gaze on his neck burning. They both shook their head. It's settled, then. Danzo smiled. I shall make the arrangements for moving his belongings to his new quarters. Wait another minute. Serbi halted him again in the middle of victory speech. We must discuss on terms. Terms. You know what I mean. Serbi sat down to his chair. Is he okay now? He asked from Robin masked woman. He is not in any danger anymore. Hokage-sama. But I would like to insist immediate full inspection and at least full week of rest in hospital bed. Woman said, still petting boy's hair. Old man nodded. Dog. You go gather Makoto's belongings quickly as possible. Don't attract any attention on yourself. Cat. Go alert the military police. Tell them that Makodo Namikaze is dead and his murderers must be found immediately. Homura. Kaharu. I don't need you anymore. You may go. 3 persons left, leaving only Danzo, Hokage, and Robin masked ANBU and still unconscious boy. Leave us, he muttered to last person in the room. She looked little confused. I will ask you to return when we're done. Wait outside. She nodded and swiftly moved out of the office. So, Sarutobi, tell me your terms. Bandaged man asked, moving to other side of the table. Looked each other from opposite sides of the table. Between them lied yellow-haired boy with whisker marks on his cheeks. Only few, old man said, looking serious. 1. You keep your barbaric training methods away from him. 2. I shall frequently monitor his progress personally. 3. He will join to academy and become a genin. If he wants to remain as ANBU, he must wait until he has been officially offered a chance. If I am not satisfied with him, mark my words, I will destroy you until there's nothing but roll of bandages left. I may be old, but I can still kick your anything else. Danzo asked, frowning in annoyance. I want you to place Ahana-chan in charge of him. She shall be my eyes and ears so you don't try anything you might regret. That woman has taken deep care of the boy, and gods know he deserves someone like that in his life. ANBU leader nodded. I shall agree on these terms of yours, but you must agree with my terms as well. Go ahead. Old man narrowed his eyes. I will be charge of his training. Personally, he shall have his first patrol duty within 3 years. He shall be assigned a training partner of my choosing among Nei ranks. Sandame thought it for a minute. Fine. When you will transfer him to his new quarters. Now, Danzo looked at the boy. To make your life easier, I shall have Akahana-san move to the next room. Now, is there anything else we should discuss? No. If everything is in order, you shall take him. I shall be checking his treatment tomorrow. Until then, he sat down. Robin red-haired woman entered the room with light speed. Yes, Hokage-sama, I shall entrust Makoto to your care. Old man smiled. I trust that you take good care of him. Woman looked astounded even if it was a bit hard to detect with the mask and all. Both men could hear her gulping. Yes, Hokage-sama. Danzo-sama, thank you. Now transform him to the clinic. Bandaged man ordered. Have him in full checkup and make sure he rests. I shall come to the clinic first thing in the morning. Yes, sir. Woman nodded and proceeded to carry him out. Finally, she thought. Finally, I can keep you safe. Excuse me, but what is his name? Both men turned to her little confused. What you mean? Hokage asked. Didn't the Makoto died already? I thought he would need a new name just in case. Woman thought it was a bit amusing that 2 most powerful men in the village had let this kind of thing slip through their minds. She was holding the little boy in her arms, trying her best not to disturb his dream, even though she knew that it would require more than earthquake to wake him up. His mother's name was Koza Azuaki. Serbi remembered. Powerful woman. He closed his eyes and his something came to his mind. Their plan was to name him Naruto Namikaze. Nah, Akahana asked little troubled. Like that ramen topping? Yes. Hokage shrugged. Minato told me that they had decided to name him after main character of Jiraiya's first book. But because both his parents were dead and Jiraiya and I were busy, he was named after his father when no one who knew his parents' wishes was present. It's kind of relief now when you think about it. You're suggesting naming him Naruto Uzumaki, old soldier said, narrowing his eyes. Are you sure it was his name in the first place? And I think it's more than safe to use his legal name, remembering how few people knew boy's parents' relationship. Gray-haired man thought. Or do you have any better ideas? No. Jiraiya-sama's idea is more than perfect. Robin answered before Danzo could, who narrowed his eyes to this, but let it go. If he wanted any control over this boy even a little, he would need this boy to trust him. And first step was to make him feel secured and comfortable. Do you like it, Naruto-kun? Robin. Danzo cleared his throat. I remembered that boy was in need of medical attention. Woman stopped on her tracks and nodded as she rushed out of the office towards the ANBU HQ. I hope I won't regret this. Hokage prayed as he watched the boy go. Then I too shall take my leave. Bandaged man smirked. We see each other tomorrow, I believe. Goodbye then. Goodbye. Door closed behind. Crippled councilman leaving Hokage alone in his office, waiting. Clan heads storming into his office, demanding to see Makoto's body. He would have to come up with clever camouflage story. He rubbed his eyes. This would be a long night. Akahana entered the big building on the outskirts of the Konoha. It seemed like rundown factory or something like that to most of the people. But those who knew what it was knew it was the place where most dangerous weapons of all the village had in its disposal resided. The fearsome ANBU headquarters. It was surrounded with fence all around. Red-haired woman jumped over the fence easily carrying unconscious child. She landed on front yard looking around quickly and being sure that no one was looking who shouldn't and quickly jumped to the wall and Shaka walked to S. Mall balcony high on the wall. Old factory doors and windows were all fakes. Inside was thick beddy wall. Balcony over the main doors was the real entrance. People wouldn't get there if they couldn't use chakra to climb up walls. Akahana was sure to teach her son that soon as possible. She entered the building quickly heading to higher levels to ANBU private clinic. Johanna, what's up? Purple-haired woman asked in trench coat holding an empty dango stick in her mouth. She smiled to woman. But when Robin-masked woman rushed ahead without even greeting, she realizes something was wrong. Then she realized that the woman was holding Makoto. She gasped and rushed after them. Red-haired ANBU rushed through the corridors, not bothering to greet anyone or answer any questions on her rush or the unconscious boy. She didn't even realize that the time she had finally reached the clinic, half of the people on the building was chasing her. She only banged the door open and closed it behind her, leaving all of them to corridor. Akahana, right this way. Doctor Kamari guided the woman to examination room where they stripped the boy. We will take care of the rest. Man shore to her. You need to rest. I will wait here, Robin said firmly. Man didn't argue anymore and rushed after his patient. Akahane removed her mask and breathed hard. Was this really happening? Would something so wonderful actually happen? Her legs gave out and she landed on her butt. After a few hours, they brought him back in hospital bed. The fearsome Andromedic Ahana Misaki, surnamed Robin, sat next to this little yellow-haired boy who slept soundly after hours of inspections and tests. She smiled to the boy when she heard the room's door opening and people rushing in. Hana, is everything okay? Enko rushed to her side looking at boy as Makoto. Okay. Just now she realized how many people was around her. Everyone looking at her concerned. Then she smiled lightly. Makoto is dead. What? Everyone looked from her to boy whose chest raised calmly and fell down. What the hell was that, Hana? Don't joke like that. I didn't. Woman stood up looking everyone in the room. Makoto Namikaze has been killed by Raging Mai few hours ago. Futile attempts to save his life didn't help. Then she walked to other side of boy bed. Everyone, this is Naruto Uzumaki and he will be living with us from now on. Room fell silent. What do you mean will be living with us from now on? Anko asked confused. Is that some kind of joke? Akahana shook her head and smiled. No. Hokage-sama and Danzo-sama came to an agreement. Am I Naruto-kun will be living with us? Purple-haired woman looked around. Seriously, that's true. Voice from door made them change their focus. Kakashi walked inside his dog mask leisurely on the side of his head. I've just fetched all his belonging, what's left of them anyway, and placed them to his new room. And Bus inside the room looked each other confused and slowly started to smile widely. One of them even made lame victory sign. Finally, man sighed in relief. Let's see them trying to hurt him now. I actually want them to. Everyone looked at Anko who smirked sadistically. It's S-class crime when unauthorized personnel tried to invade ANBU HQ. He cracked her knuckles. Everyone else stepped little further away from the woman. Should we sing a poster outside saying, Demon Kid is here. Come and get if you dare. Hey, that even rhymes. That's not even funny, one of the other females in the room stated, but I agree with Chadao. This means we can keep him safe from now on. You're no fun, Enko muttered and walked away. Anyway, where he sleeps, what we train him, who trains him, where he eats. This started a rain of questions from everyone. Red-haired woman had to raise her hands in order to calm people down. I don't know any of those questions. Expect that he sleeps in 3rd floor, room next to Danzo-sama's private quarters. Then she smirked a little. I am moving to next room. They ignored her ad and looked little concerned. Does this mean that Na joins the Nei division? Chadao asked concerned. The Nei division was full of emotionless freaks. No, Kakashi answered on her behalf. Hokage was clear on that. We don't know any details other than that. Danzo and Hokage will talk things trough tomorrow. Silence fell to the room. I call first lessons. Enko raised her hand and smirked. Others looked at her angrily making such statement before anyone else. Her grin only widened from stares. I can't wait to teach the boy an Ajishu hidden shadow snake hand. This raised a downpour of objections. You can't be serious, Chadao said frowning. That is dangerous move for a kid. Not to mention it requires contract of snakes. Female Anbu Rane stated, no, it doesn't. Enko smirked even more proud. It only requires subcontract. That is totally different thing. It is still too early for that. Kakashi pointed out. You're just all crummy because I was fastest, purple-haired woman said looking at boy. What other techniques would be nice? Some very painful and she was lost her voice when she noticed a large killing intent from the other side of the room. Hana, you're not going to teach him anything before he knows all the basics. Red-haired woman whispered warningly. People could swear they saw a demon flying behind her head. And may I remind you that he is a living person, not a toy for you to play with. Everyone looked little awkward of this. Even though they hadn't got the chance to say it, they all were thinking passing their own techniques on the boy. During this year, everyone among the ANBU had taken a like of the boy. When their patrol route accidentally followed him, they just couldn't see how anyone could want him dead. Boy liked the frogs and snakes just like any other kid. He smiled bravely even after worst beating. He even trained what he could, but never used his new skills against the people who beat him down. They were guessing if he had a problem with nerves or was he too nice. It was only natural that they wanted to teach him some new ways to protect himself and maybe being able to get some payback in time. First, he will learn how to read and write. Red-haired woman stepped forward, menacingly glaring at everyone. Then someone capable will teach him basic skills, and if he ever wants to learn that hideous skill of yours. Her gaze stopped into Anko, who felt like shrinking. I may consider it, and the same goes for the rest of you. You want to teach him. You must clear it from me first. Remember that. You better remember it, Kakashi pointed out, and everyone looked back him. Hokage gave our little friend to Ahana's care. That includes you too, Kakashi. Red-haired woman said firmly. Don't even consider teaching him the Rinnegan. Not at least for 10 years. Silver-haired man looked away. Of course not. He was glad of his other mask what he never removed. Does she have a baby fever or something? Where am I? Everyone turned around to see that the guest of honor had woken up. He looked around with his bright blue eyes trying to recognize the room. All these new people in the new place. Was he carried somewhere else for further beating while he was unconscious? He backed away a little. Where's the old man? Who are you? Akahana turned to other people in the room. Leave us. Can't you see that you are making him nervous? Hard elite of the Kanehage Nosto nodded quietly and walked out of the room. But not before they had smiled and greeted the boy by waving their hands. Get well soon. Enko yelled, smirking her friendly smile to the boy. Smile that most of the people mistook to a frightening sadistic grin. And so did Naruto, who jumped behind his hospital bed and tried his best to disappear from sight. Everyone else tried to hold their laughers before they were at least further away from the room. Enko blushed and tried her best not to attack the kid. I am not that scary. She yelled to others who had already disappeared to laugh somewhere safe. Kid is obviously tired. Kakashi smirked at this and followed the purple-haired woman. Sure. Tell Abiki that we have finally found someone who was more scarier than him. That should ease him. Everyone's voices tailed off, leaving small boy and red-haired woman alone. Are you hungry? Akahana asked from her little friend. Do you want some water? Where's the old man? Na repeated his question little more confidently now when room was emptier. Where am I? You're at the clinic of the ANBU headquarters. Woman answered to boy's question smiling and stepping small step forward. Do you know what the ANBU is best ninjas? Na answered slowly stepping against the wall. Where's the old man? You mean the Hokage red-haired woman asked. She frowned a little to boy's actions. The village can go to hell all I care. They may have scarred him for life. Maybe I should let Anko play with the people when we have next patrol duty. He is busy right now but he promised to pay you a visit first thing tomorrow morning. Boy looked around. I want to go home. He said weakly. Madokan you are home. She answered and boy turned around quickly. No I am not. Blonde boy said with sudden strength. I have my own place. It's a total crap but it's mine. I want to go there now. Ahana shook her head. I am sorry but I can't let you go there. Her voice was firm but gentle. Just like a mother's voices should be. Just rest now. I am here to take care of you. Boy backed down even more if possible. You're lying. No one ever takes care of me. Everyone hates me. Tears started fall down his cheeks. I have never done anything. Why they hate me? He started to weep quietly but holding his gaze on the woman. I want to go home. Makoto, you are home. Woman answered, stepping forward again. You maybe don't know it, but we have taken care of you all this time. No, you haven't. I haven't even met you ever. I haven't met anyone who would help me expect the old man. Get him here now, Naruto's voice was demanding, but drops away from full breakdown. You're wrong, ANBU answered. We've taken care of you all this time. But we have done it from the shadows like the best ninjas. You're lying. No one has ever helped me. We have woman who smiled at you. Enko has once sent snakes after the people who hurt you. Kakashi masked man has used a fire jutsu to scare them away many times. Abeki, he wasn't here today, but he has tortured people who hurt you. This list goes on and on. She stepped forward. We all care for you. She whispered, we all have done numerous things to help you. Na tried to back away from the woman, but the wall prevented it. It wouldn't be the first time he was fooled. This was just another trick. He wanted to see the old man. Why they couldn't let him to see the old man? He hated the stupid village. He started to cry. Even I have saved you many occasions. Akahana whispered and pulled something from her ambuist. I just want you to forgive me not being there from the beginning. She gave to him a red feather. Konoha Robin's feather. Now you believe me. With shaking hands, boy reached to take the feather from the woman. He seemed to realize something. Slowly, he reached down to his pocket. He had exact same feather in his other hand. He bit his lip so he wouldn't cry, but tears were overwhelming. Slowly, Ahana moved next to him and hugged him tightly. I promise not to leave you ever again, she whispered to his ear. Slowly, short hands wrapped around her neck and boy hugged back. So, don't worry, okay. Na didn't answer. I thought it was just a coincidence that sometimes I got lucky, he whispered. I thought everyone hated me. No, they don't. Woman whispered to his ear. No one inside this place hates you. We are you family now, Akahana. She could feel grip tightening around her neck. Danzo-sama has called an emergency meeting now. Makadun, she whispered. You should sleep now. It'll be right back. Okay, don't leave me. They hate me. He whispered. Shush. She shushed him and slowly molded chakra in her hand. Dreamless sleep, she thought and touched the back of his head. Slowly, boy went numb. Carefully, she raised him back to his bed, and only after she carefully covered him up, she left the room. She gave a quick glance over to sleeping boy's body, who seemed so innocent while he slept. Akahana's voice repeated softly, yes, lead the way. They walked through the corridor's inner parts of the facility. They came to large hall that was used as a conference hall. It was an empty hall that was lighted by flares at the sides of the room. Every ANBU in who was in the Konoha was sitting on the floor in neat lines and rows. Every seat had its meaning. First were for group captains. Second row were for group lieutenants. After that came squad captains and so on. When there was two equal ranking persons in the same line, senior one sat front. It was rare occasions that conference hall was this full. There were few out from the village admissions, but most of the force was sitting on the floor now. Red-haired woman could see that Danzo was waiting at his usual place on the platform, leaning to his cane. Glass-eyed woman was sitting on the back and was browsing through the papers. How is he? Man asked when she entered the room. She noticed that everyone's gaze turned to her. Medically, he should be fine in a week or so. I put him to sleep with my dreamless sleep technique for now. Medic took her usual place. First row, fifth line. She was support group's captain. Next to her left was Kakashi, legs crossed and looking lazy as always. Next to him was Chadao Rankai, man who had promising career on head of himself. And then was Hyuga Hakia, cold but beautiful woman and one of the few Hyugas in the ANBU. Next to her were the rest of the captains of offensive groups. Akahana looked quickly to her right. Abeki sat there and behind him Anko, the leading members of interrogation squad. Purple-haired woman grinned back and winked. That look made red-haired woman to shudder a little. That woman was 100 yards from turning into a complete psychopath. But if she was 100 yards from psychopath, her captain was only half a step. Cute couple. Next to them were the other supportive and defensive groups. She gave quick look over to platform left side from it. A group of kids were sitting in similar manner but as a whole different groups. Nay division most of them were only kids but there were some older teen but none adult. The G. Rup Danzo officially led even though the people knew that Hokage was the leader of all ninjas in the Konoha. Danzo was the unofficial leader of ANBU squads and Danzo said firmly turning her attention to himself, do you have anything to add on the boy's status? She thought for a minute. He may be physically acceptable, but mentally woman tried her best to keep herself calm. He is scarred and traumatized very very badly. And it didn't help to move him as unconscious to unfamiliar place surrounded by unfamiliar people. She glared around making others move little awkwardly on their places. He wanted to see Hokage-sama without a delay. Danzo sat down thinking these news wearing his cold face. He was glad that boy wasn't in any serious condition, but frowned mentally to the fact that he had asked to see the Hokage, but not him. Then again, Sandaime had always been there when the boy had woken up. He himself wasn't able to attend often as he had wished for. Council had prevented that as well. Well, it could be worst. At least they could start build something from this point. Anything else? He asked. No. Woman shook her head. Then let's get this over with, Danzo said, earning everyone's attention. As most of you have already noticed, Makoto Namikaze has been killed by the raging mob. That's the official part. Next thing I will tell you won't leave this room. That's as ranking secret, which breaking means pain of death. Understood. After agreeing, mumbling, Danzo continued. Makoto has been renamed as Naruto Uzumaki. He will be living here with us for time being. We have agreed with Hokage that he will be trained and raised here. Details will be decided later, but Naruto will not be joining NA division but among the regular. He will be appointed a trainer, but I will personally observe his progress. His quarters will be in the 3rd floor near to my own. Also Hokage has appointed Akahana-san in charge of him as his guardian, but truth of him shall never leave this room. Officially, Naruto Uzumaki is an orphan taken into NA group. Everyone from a clan shall remember to keep their loyalty to the village. That would be all for now. Sado, woman with dark hair and glasses, stepped up holding a paper. Hitaki, I want you to send a squad over to north. There are some rumors of nuke nins trying to invade our border. Avoid contact. Kakashi nodded. Sure. Take that new Uchiha kid with you. Danzo interrupted and thought for a second. He is now on his way, but when he arrives, take him with you. They have made such a fuss out of him. Verify if even half is true. Sure. Sado corrected her glasses. Then Hakin arrange a bodyguards for Daimo's nephew. He has decided that he is too bored at his manor house, so he has started camping. Woman with pale eyes frowned and opened her mouth to question, but she was cut off. Don't ask. Dark-haired woman shook her head. This is direct quest from Daimo-sama, so do your best. Hyuga woman bowed well-mannered. Sado gave out the rest of the orders. That would be all, she said finally. Akahana-san, stay behind for later orders. Red-haired woman sat on her place waiting while others cleared the room. Danzo has been silent the whole time. It was unusual to him even bother to be at briefing hall. He usually gave out the orders from his private study. ANBU medic waited patiently for further orders. Akahana Danzo began. Sado was now browsing through the papers again. People and especially men of the ANBU thought that it was her hobby. I have a mission for you. Does it involve Naruto? Hana asked, little careful. Yes. Bandaged man nodded. I want you to evaluate him and his skills. Sado handed over some papers. She browsed through them quickly. Mostly empty forms. Some of them were already filled by some parts. By his new name, gender, age, date of birth. It was now 6th of August. His past found lying on the side of the road, accepted to NA experiment, great hopes, parents unknown, name given by Councilman Danzo's private secretary, Timmy Sido, and such. It also had boy's current weight, height, eye colors, and other physical aptitudes, including 6 whisker-kind marks suspected to be scars of several beatings. They had really put some thought on everything. You understand now? Danzo asked after a while. I want to know what he's capable of, his chakra reserves, what kind of taijutsu he shows suitability. Will he be more enjutsu or genjutsu type? But considering his breeding, I would say the first. What specialties interest him and such? You have 1 month. I let the means to you. Any questions? Akahana was hardly beating. This was like an official order to stay near Naruto every possible second and watch over him. Will you start training after this? She asked finally. Yes. Man nodded. If that was all, you're dismissed. He raised leaning to his cane and walked away. He is not allowed to leave the base without my express orders. Do you understand? Yes. Danzo-sama, she nodded. Sado will inform the others on this matter. Man added, and the other woman corrected her glasses. What about the training area? Akahana asked. Technically, it's not part of the base. Danzo stopped and thought about it. Only with 3 escorts, he answered. We are not taking any chances. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Woman nodded. If there's any question, Point them directly to me. Danzo exited the room. I will come to him first. Thing in the morning, Sido rearranged some papers and walked away very office ladylike. That woman needs some medical attention, said smirking voice behind Hana. She turned around to see Anko standing there in her trench coat. Even though outside everyone used their standard ANBU uniform when on duty, but when off duty, many people wore most amazing things. That stick may harm her intestines. Hana saw Sido's head turning and glaring murderous looks over to purple-haired woman who only smirked back. You shouldn't insult people like that. Hana scolded her friend. She is smart woman. That and she has a longer tongue than that. Orochimaru. Anko frowned a little and everyone knows where it's attached to. Okay. Sado threw her papers to the ground. Not even one single leaf flew out of pile. You and me right here, right now. She started to run at her with pleasure. Anko started to form hand seals while Sido took a hold of her weapons. Even though she worked most of her time as a secretary, that didn't mean she couldn't put on a fight. But before either of them could do anything, Hana stepped between the two. Okay, ladies, stop it. Sido-sanan, please remember that Anko fell on her head when she was a child. Dark-haired woman smirked. Anko-chan, you should remember that the surgery would be most painful, so I won't remove her stick. Purple-haired woman smirked. Both of you have faults and both of you have merits. Now, if you would grow up, I could move on to the clinic where there is a young boy waiting for me. She rushed out of the room, leaving two angry women glaring at her back. At the clinic door, a figure was leaning to wall next to the door. He's asleep, Kakashi said when Hana walked next to him. She opened it slowly. Her technique would keep the boy asleep even in an earthquake, but she didn't want to risk it. Naruto was fast asleep at his bed. His chest rose and lowered at peaceful pace. He resembles his father so much that it's almost frightening. She whispered and looked the masked shinobi. Yes, man nodded. But he has something that Manado-sensei missed. That determination. Obviously your sister's Akahana Misaki, formerly known as Akahana Uzuzaki, sister of Kasha Uzumaki and only living family of Naruto Uzumaki. She had changed her surname long before when her family had disowned her. Everyone except her older sister Kusha had abandoned her. They had both left the land of Whirlpool together and had just entered to land of fire when they had met this group of genin and their Junin instructor doing their patrol. Hana could still remember how stupid Kasha had looked when her eyes had met Manado's. They had been in the middle of Taiyatsu fight when it had happened. It was also perfect lesson to the genins. What would happen if you would lose your focus in the middle of the fight? They both run towards the tree and knocked each other out. Akahana had laughed hard to this afterwards. Her sister had been elite back in Whirlpool and she had been taken out so easily. She could remember that Kakashi, Ren and Obito were giving similar treatment to their sensei. She explained their situation. Manado helped them join the Konoha. Akahana joined to the ranks of the ANBU and the Kusha joined to regular jonins. She and Manado became lovers. Their affair was a secret to most of the people, mostly because even though they were deeply in love, their chemistry didn't actually match. And Kasha was a terrible tomboy. So no one actually believed that Yellow Flash of Konoha would fell for someone like her when there were fangirls ready for mission round the clock. Kusha became pregnant and Ahana had been so exited having a niece or nephew. She was considering retiring ANBU and became full-day nanny to her sister's children. Her sister was way too free spirit to settle like that. She would have been taking missions after mission if she was allowed to. Fortunately, Manado was now Yandai, so it was his job to give the missions. And somehow all the S, A, B, and even C rank missions had been already handed out when she came to ask. It was kind of amusing to watch when she screamed at him for taking her as some weak kunoiki and how he tried to answer. But somehow his voice seemed to disappear in front of her. They were bound to be together, but then you know the rest. After that night, she had tried to take her nephew. It was her legal right as last living relative. But that damn council had stated that because her family had disowned her, she had no right. Then she was forced to stand aside and look, when they started to argue with him like he was just some stuffed toy. She had cursed them. Small happiness was allowed when Hokage had given the boy over to ANBU to be raised underground at least for a couple of years literally, and she was able to look after him even though the council made sure that it was little as possible. Then his second birthday became and he was transferred to orphanage. Then the real hell began. Tears fell down when she remembered those days. Her dear nephew was almost killed so many times, and she was forced to stand down and only heal his unconscious body. She had promised that if her nephew's father hadn't sacrificed himself and his son to save this rotten village, she would have gone berserk long time ago. Even if her sister was thought as an elite and herself only as first-class medic with not so much fighting skills, she still could kick some serio ass butt around the village. I should have been there for him, she whispered. I should have saved him no matter what the council said or the Hokage said. You were following orders. Kakashi touched her shoulder gently. There was nothing else we could do. That's a great excuse. Hana snorted and leaned to the wall of corridor. Door was open and giving her a clear vision on the boy. I was following orders. Sorry, Naruto. I had to watch idly by when angry villagers beat you up. No, it wasn't my fault. I was following orders. Please forgive me. You do. Oh, thank you. Now, let's hop on the Kyuubi and let's go visit Zeus on the Mount Olympus. Silver-haired man looked away. She had a point. Unfortunately, he will forgive you. He whispered and walked away. He has to. She really wished for it. She really did. How you could let this happen? Fugakura asked from Hokage at council's emergency meeting. Son of Yandai-sama is dead by an angry mob. How could you let this happen? Calm and powerful on the outside, on the inside, Serbi was screaming for help. This meeting had lasted already for 4 hours. They kept repeating the same question. It was normally followed by, "It all your fault." Hi Hyuga yelled from the other side of the table. Those two clans were most powerful in all Konoha, but they just couldn't get along. Either their clans or clan heads. If your clan wouldn't have prevented us from adopting him, anything wouldn't have happened. Right on time, Sandame thought. And now, like you're one to talk, Inuzuka head gave death glares to 2 colleagues of his. You're as much as responsible as the Uchiha are. Because you two pick like children, he could have had a real family and wouldn't now be dead. She glared with her narrow eyes to Fukugu. What have you done for finding his murderess? Fugaku-san. Everyone noticed a suffix. Inuka had never used suffix. Any luck with investigation? No, not yet. Man stated, but I have taken every possible action. If only I could see victim's body. He looked over to Hokage. Here we go again. Do his beating seal that held Kyuubi no Kitsen inside had weakened severely. So as a precaution, his remains were cremated. Hokage told the cover story already for 10th time. Some people just didn't get a hint. He looked at room when another round the room and the other council members. Every ninja head argued and accused each other of this situation. Only civilian heads remained silent. Old man could smell their relief. Hokage-sama, Hiyashi asked with his tranquil voice. He seemed to be the only one in the room who didn't bark to others like a dog. Saratobi thought it was only due his hard Hyuga teachings that prevented him showing his emotions. Even though man seemed to be on a brink of starting to break things, I feel sorry already for his daughter. She will kill herself practicing with him. Where are your advisors, Kaharu-sama and Homiya-sama? They haven't yet arrived. Room fell silent as they waited him to answer. You just noticed. My advisors are surveying his disposing of his remains. They don't want to take any chances. What about Danzo-sama? It's not like him to pass meetings like this. Pale-eyed man said. Was sure he would be here by now. Councilman Hokage started his speech but was interrupted as the door to council chamber opened. Morning light flooded inside the dark chamber as the devil they were speaking entered, followed by Hi's secretary. Everyone looked in silence as they walked calmingly to his place. Sido walked after her, looking cold as possible, holding a pile of papers. Doors were closed behind him and room fell to darkness once more. Danzo's seat was exactly opposite from Hokage's. Hyuga was on the far left when Uchiha were on the far right. When he took his seat, Sido stepped back in the shadows unnoticed as possible. I am terrible sorry of my late arrival. He smiled pleasantly. What did I miss? Scribe. Shunin helper landed next to him and whispered the highlights of night's discussion. Considering that it had been 4-hour-long discussion, it was really amazing how young man was able to shorten it all to 5 minutes. As that's sir, Danzo nodded finally as Chunin jumped back to his place. Everyone was looking at him, obviously waiting him to take the lead. It was amazing sometimes how one man could bring reason to that dark room. For first, I apologize my tardiness. I was forming my own investigations on this horrible situation. Any luck? I asked. None so far. I have questioned two of us who found him, but either of them found nothing. Danzo took a pile of paper that was placed in front of him. Murder report at the beginning of the meeting. He took his time to read it. Many of the information made him raise his eyebrows. This is all, Fugakuan. So far, Uchiha answered, it is 4 hours old. I am sure that my men have found all the suspects by now. That's good to hear. If they're not too busy celebrating. He smiled, his polite smiled. Really good. So, there's nothing to me to add. This was such tragedy, but have to remember that in the end, this was all for good. Everyone looked at him surprised. He was equally eager to adopt him, but one of the few who opposed against killing him. This cold attitude was unexpected. What you mean, Danzo-sama? We lost the son of Yandami and the Juriki. This is more than just a tragedy. Fukugu said, narrowing his eyes. Or is there anything you know that we don't? What you mean? Bandaged man asked defendingly. I just said I have nothing to add. That's not what I asked. Ah said annoyed. You must have something on your mind. Danzo's smile widened a little. Well yes, I have few things on the motion. Sado-san. He turned his head over. Woman stepped forward, taking few papers and handing them to Danzo. Then she quickly shared the rest to other council members. This is a new project I've started some time ago. When the plan fails, it's no use to mourn over it forever. Better than that, you move to plan B. What is this plan of yours? Fukugu asked, browsing through the papers he's gotten. Then his eyes widened, abducting a foreign juriki. Are you crazy? I am very serious. Danzo smiled. These are only prior reports of known Yachiriki and their locations. I am considering that we should try to capture one from other country and try to turn it to one of us. This way we gain back our power that we lost by losing Ninetail's vessel. As people started to argue with Danzo, Hokage grinned behind his hands. Clever Danzo. Now everyone's attentions are turned to you and your new project, and hopefully they forget of me, Naruto-kun, soon. I promise not to act without council's permission. Bandaged man waved his hand to calm everyone. As I said, these are only prior reports that I collected during these 4 hours. Now, he will end this meeting soon and runs back to his base. Sandame thought and looked his watch. He will wake soon. I better get going soon. He remained silent when Danzo answered the question after question from every council member. After 15 minutes, he was talked out of his idea to send a special squad to Suna and try to capture son of K's cage, the Vess. L of Shukaku. After that decision, council was disbanded. Hokage walked to his office while Danzo rushed to the HQ. He had to talk to Naruto before Hokage. Hana blinked her eyes when sunlight hit them, waking her up. She had fallen asleep next to Naruto's bed. When she opened her eyes, she noticed that Na was standing next to the window looking down to the village. People started to live their lives normally before the news of his death reached their ears. People started to cheer around the city when they had been freed from the demon. Why are they so happy? Na whispered, looking down. Is there a festival today? Hana gulped her sorrow down. How could she explain that that festival was because of his death? Let's forget it for now, she said carefully, making him turn around quickly. Even though he remembered last night, he still didn't trust her completely. She could be waiting to chance to throw him out of the window. Are you hungry? Where's the old man? He asked, raising his chin defiant. You said he would be here by now. He will be here any minute now, Hana assured him. But while we wait, you must want something to eat. Like ramen, you like it, don't you? Naruto looked a little cautious and shook his head, but his stomach gave him away immediately. Hana thought for a minute and smiled. Why don't we get some ramen while we wait for Hokage to arrive? You like ramen, don't you? Na started to think about it. He wanted some ramen. He wanted some of Ikyaku Oji's ramen. When he was about to answer, the door opened and a man stepped in. He wasn't the Hokage, but he wasn't a total stranger either. Naruto remembered those bandages and that scar of his chin. He remembered that polite smile and that cane. He had sometimes seen this man in old man's office. Danzo-sama woman rose up and turned to face him. How was the meeting? Everything went as planned, man said, looking directly to Naruto's. You seem exhausted. Akahana saying go to take a shower, change of clothes, and get some of that ramen he so much likes. Boy's eyes widened a little. When she hesitated for not sure if she should leave the boy alone with him, he spoke. Hokage is coming soon, but I wanted to have a private moment before that. You may go. It wasn't an offering. It was an order. She turned quickly to Naruto and smiled. This is Danzo-sama. He is very powerful man and he is the person who wanted you to be brought here. You'll be safe with him. I am just going quickly chancing and be right back. Okay. She was still wearing his ANBU uniform. Boy wasn't sure but gave out a small nod. She walked away. Boy started little shy. Could you if it's not too much trouble, please? Woman's heart was about to jump out of her throat from shock and happiness. I would love to. You like me so best, right? Boy nodded again. It'll bring back many as I can carry. She smiled and rushed away. When the door was closed, silence filled the room. Either of the two said nothing, only glared at each other. Na didn't know what that man wanted. What he could remember, he hardly ever said anything. Danzo was measuring the boy up. He obviously had fire still in him. That glare obviously that woman's Kush's glare woman was too hot-headed to ANBU unlike her sister. Well, if he had anything from his parents, he would be kicking some serious but soon. Or would be if he were in the NE division. He sighed a little. With normal tutoring, he would be average genin when he's around 10. Well, everything that will happen will happen. So, do you know me? He began with friendly tone. I know you, Na nodded. You're the guy who pretends being friendly to everyone all the time, but is not really. This was unexpected. Why you say that? He asked, trying to keep his expression. I just know, Boy said quietly, looking away. He has learned how to interpret people's feelings and actions by looking their face and body movements and knows what's true and what's not. His time outside didn't go all to waste after all. After all, I am pretty confident with my poker face. But he said only I see and dropped his polite smile and took his real normal face. Cold little arrogant but acknowledging powerful but not exaggerating. Better he stood up. Boy nodded. I don't like when people pretend being friendly. He said still glaring at him. Actually, me neither. Danzo stepped up. Can I be frank with you? We don't have much time, so I have to say this quickly and pointless jabbering will only cost us time. Na looked at him for a while, but nodded. What you want? Simple, he said bluntly, making his eyes little widened. Why? He asked, stepping little forward. This was the first time when someone was talking to him like that. Not trying to kill him. The villagers, not pretending that everything was okay like the Hokage. He was talking to him like to a person. That was totally new. Bandaged man said. But while I speak, you are not allowed to interrupt me. If you have questions, you save them for time when I allow you to ask them. Understood. Blonde boy nodded as he started to tell his story. 4 years ago, Kayabi Noitsun attacked the village. You know that it was destroyed by the 4th Hokage. He didn't wait him to answer or even to nod. That was a lie. Even as powerful he was, Manado Namikaze had no power to defeat the strongest of the Beiju. So he used a sealing technique. Shiki Fujin Corpse Demon Consuming Seal. The basic idea is to seal the enemy's soul inside of a newly born baby whose chakra coils haven't yet developed. Do you see where I am going? Na nodded slowly. I am the Gulp, the Kayabi, the demon. Before he could even flinch, Danzo had moved in front of him and slapped him hard to his cheek. Senden. Him flying across the room. When he finally got himself up, he was holding his cheek with teary eyes. Don't you dare ever saying that again, man said very coldly to his amaze. The fact that the villagers call you one doesn't make it so. You're a Juariki, a person who carries a demon, a jailer. Kayabi is a prisoner inside of you. Na started to realize something slowly. So that's why everyone hates me, he muttered. I hate that man, he whispered angrily. What happened to him if he didn't sacrifice himself for the village? Where is he? He is dead, Danzo said bluntly. Shiki Fujin is dangerous technique that kills its user afterwards. So he escaped leaving me to the wolves. Na muttered looking out of the window. His intentions were purely good. Danzo continued letting his comments slip. He wanted you to be seen as a hero. A hero that held the Kayabi away from the village. But people never saw it like that. They just saw what was inside you. Idiots, he muttered under his breath accidentally. When he had left his front down, He had also let his guard down too much. He had to remind not to let that happen ever again. That's why they have tried to kill you. But those idiots don't understand that harming the seal here. He poked his stomach with a cane could possibly let the cow be free. And that would have been the last mistake this village would have ever made. Silence fell between them. Any questions? What about my parents? How could they let this happen? Did they hate me so much that they were glad to get rid of me? What was that for? Gnarled his head with teary eyes. Bandaged man had hit him hard with his cane. Testing a theory, he answered simply smirking a little. Can you cure the idiocy with trauma to one's brains? I am sure we will find out soon enough. Boy didn't understand half of the words he had just said and let it show. This earned another hit. That one was for showing your emotions so openly. Shinobi isn't allowed to show his cards at any point, not under any circumstances. Man said coldly. First one was because you're an idiot. You haven't yet even figured the obvious, but remembering that villagers hadn't either, I guess it can be forgiven. He cursed himself again, letting something like that slip. What? Na asked. You're the son of Yandi. Danzo answered with little more power he had intended originally. Your name is Makoto Namikaze for Christ's sake. Your father's name was Manado Namikaze. You couldn't add the two. I am the son, the fourth Hokage, he whispered, losing his balance. You're kidding. No, I am not. Danzo said, I never joke. I know there must be dozens of questions running through your mind right now, but there will be a time to you to know all these. I want you to sit down to the bed and think what you have heard just now through. Understood. Na nodded quietly and walked to the bed and sat down. All this time, the mood in Ikyaku's ramen wasn't the best it could be. Actually, the depressed aura that flew around the ramen stand was enough to keep all the customers out. And those who had the guts to enter there were immediately thrown out by angry cook and his heartbroken daughter. Only by long persuasion, Hana was able to get Naruto's order. We are having a memorial in the base. She lied. We and the force really took liking in the boy. Then why didn't you save him? Ayami screamed and threw a pan towards her. She didn't dodge it. She deserved it. Get out. You're a liar. Liar just like the rest of them. You hated him. He hadn't done anything and you killed him. Go to hell. Tuki was only sitting behind his counter glaring at her. Suddenly, Ahana fell to her knees and bowed. I am sorry, she whispered, tears in her eyes. I wish I could have helped him. I am so sorry. Tuki touched his daughter's shoulder quietly. Let's do this for Mika-chan. He whispered. Ayami nodded and walked away. She returned with a pile of plastic cups. After a while, Hana walked out of the stand. Ayami had made her pay twice as much it would have normally cost, but she didn't mind. She had to lie to the two people who actually had liked of me Narokan, who had actually seen the boy and not what he was carrying. She heard metal slide lowering itself after she had stepped out. It was obvious they couldn't cook any more today if the whole next week. Her feeling didn't rise when she walked around the street. People had started partying like it was 10th of October official Kayabi festival, yelling how their village was free and all. She passed them quickly but not before she could hear loud screams and yells around the city. Then her eye caught one lonely snake that was running around hissing to people. Then she decided to make a little detour by the dango shop. There was silence in the room. Na was lying down on his bed looking at the ceiling. Danzo was meditating. If the boy didn't speak, which he didn't complain, he could use this time to prepare himself for Hokage's arrival. I think I hate my father, Na said, finally making bandaged councilman to lose his concentration and open his eyes. I hate him too, he answered slowly. Why? Because he was the reason I am not the Yandere. He said slowly, I was the best chose for it, but because of these wounds, I am not in condition to run. Na sat up. How did you get those wounds? Danzo sneered and cursed himself at the same time. Why he lost his self-control so easily around the boy. It's a reminding what happens when you come overconfident. What happened? Before Danzo could answer, door was sliced open and an old man entered the room. Hokage walked in smiling. How are you feeling? Na didn't know how to answer. He took a quick glance over to Danzo, who had taken his political smile back to his face. I am good, I guess. Na whispered. Serbi noticed the boy's cold act. Did something happen between him and Danzo? I guess you know what's going on. They tell me that I am going to live here from now on. he said slowly and cautiously. Old man had definitely known, but he hadn't told him. Why could he trust him? That's correct. And also he told him last night's decisions and highlights of the council's meeting. So I am Naruto Uzumaki. Seriously? He asked, little confused. That sounds like good actually. Suddenly he smiled. After a while he had started feel himself comfortable inside that room. There was Hokage who helped him. Then there was that wounded guy who had for the first time treated him as a person. Told him the truth of him about his father. But talking about the ramen topping. I am hungry. I thought that lady went get some for me. Well, it wasn't the first time he was lied. On the queue, Hannah rushed inside looking extremely tired. Sorry, she panted. I was getting some dango to Anko-san, but the damn shop was packed, so it took longer than originally planned. She smiled to Na. So, you're awake. How you feeling? Na shrugged. I am okay, I guess. Old man says that you're the person in charge of me. Yes, I am. Red-haired medic nodded. I'll be taking care of you from now on. She took all the plastic bowls from her bag and placed them in front of him. You must be starving here. Eat all you want. Really? He asked excitedly. All you better do. Hannah nodded. Tuki-san and Ayami-chan did this to you especially. How are they? Na asked carefully, scared of the answer. They're both very sad because of your death, she answered. They didn't sell anyone ramen today. Ayami-chan was especially devastated. Did you tell them? Boy asked quickly. No. Danzo spoke up and they all looked at him. Dear Naruto, this is the truth. Mikado is dead. He died last night. That's the only way to keep you safe. Only way to keep both people who cared for you safe. You understand. But Naruto tried to argue, but Danzo widened his visible eye. That look made him silence himself quickly. Listen, Naruto Hokage stepped between them. Danzo-san is right. They will mourn you, but in the end, they will continue with their own lives. The sooner the better, because when they forget you, you will be able to live in safety. But before that, you are not allowed to leave the base. Understand? Na nodded, feeling a little down. Okay. He grabbed a pair of chopsticks and said, Atadimos. I must get going. Hokage said looking at the clock. Well, Naruto-kun, I know this is a big change, but I promise to come visiting you often as possible. Be a good boy and do exactly what Akahana-san tells you to do. Okay. Boy nodded quietly. Third left him alone. Akahana kept talking to Naruto, making him to have a conversation while Danzo kept his eye on the boy. But soon there was a knock on the door and Sido walked in looking like she was hunting something to eat. Sidto-san councilman nodded to the woman. Naruto-kun, this is Sido-sanan. She is my secretary. If you need something, just ask her if you can't find me. Na looked at the woman who glared at him. Is she sick or something? He asked from Hannah, who he thought was a doctor. He wasn't sure and he was for. No. Why you ask that? Red-haired woman asked, looking at her judgmentally. She seems like her butt's on fire, blonde boy said with children's pure innocence. Sido turned bright red while Danzo sneered inside his head. Danzo-sama, she said, holding her anger, barely trying to ignore the two who were sitting on the floor eating ramen. You have a meeting with the ambassador from the Suna. We must go now. Always busy, bandaged man said, smiling pleasantly. Well, this is it, Naruto-kun. He looked at the boy whose face was covered in ramen leftovers. I must go now, but we will see each other much in the future. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to come to me. Akahana-san knows where my office is and will show it to you when she gives a tour around the building. I guess that possible. Hannah thought it for a minute. Sure, soon as you're eaten, we will take a short walk around the base. Goodbye, Danzo-sama. The two walked out of the room. Danzo only smiled pleasantly to him and waved his hand before walking away. On the other hand, Sido gave him murderous looks who answered them fully. When the door was closed, Hannah turned back to him, smiling. How does that cure sounds? Na smiled a little, but the woman could see doubts in her nephew's eyes. Is something wrong? Well, is there a lot of people here in the base? He asked, little scared. I guess you could say that. Hannah nodded. Are you scared? Na looked up to her eyes and nodded slightly. A little. What if they hate me? I know they hate. They just wait a chance to kill me. Don't they, Naruto-kun? She whispered and bowed her head. On the bones of my clan's ancestors, I promise that none of the people inside this building wants you dead. They all want to help you, to protect you. Really? He whispered. Really? Hannah smiled, tears on her eyes. I wish I could tell you everything. I wish I could take you away from this village, but I can't. Hina, I will take care of your son like I was supposed to. Why you cry? Na asked. She seemed so sad all the time but kept smiling. Why? No reason. Hannah smiled and wiped her tears quickly. Why don't we try this? I go and ask everyone to come and to introduce themselves to you one by one. Okay. Na nodded silently. But you'll be here, right? Of course. Hannah smiled. Wait just 1 minute. Okay. She rushed out of the clinic into the hallway and towards the large common room, leaving Naruto eating ramen all by himself. Large common room was on the same floor as the clinic. She rushed inside and looked around. 2 guys were playing pool. Traditionally dressed woman was treating a bonsai tree. Couple more were meditating on the balcony. 3 more people were playing cards. Few women were reading some books on the far corner. It had very easygoing aura around. She hadn't time to count everyone before she was caught of wonderful Hana-chan. What's up, Shiaku Nara? Complete opposite to his brother Shikaku Nara. He was energetic, smiling, and didn't overuse a word. Something wonderful. Okay, forget the last one. He was dressed in his civilian clothes that consisted bright green t-shirt and dark pants. On his back was a title, Wonderful Life. Shiakan, could you get everyone over to clinic? Hannah asked, looking around. Sure. But why? Black-haired man asked. I've decided to introduce everyone to Naruto one by one. So he doesn't get confused when meeting a lot people at the same time. You know, wonderful man clapped his hand and turned around. Everyone wonderful news. Hannah looked a little worried when only few heads turned to see him. Maybe he shouldn't let Shiaku do this. We are to go and introduce ourselves to our new friend. To who? One of the pool players asked. Our newest attendant. Hannah cut between getting everyone's attention. I want everyone in this building to come to the clinic and introduce themselves to Naruto-kun one by one. Understand? Okay. The other one of the pool players nodded. We'll be right after this game. Black boy into the top left corner. He hit the white ball which hit the 8 ball which rolled easily to its target. Ready? Hannah nodded. I want you to tell to others. The more people he meets today, the more easier it's for him to get used to this. Shiakan, you come with me. Wonderful. Na shouted, making everyone's eye twitch. Can I kill him? Woman who had been treating her bonsai was holding her gardening scissors and glaring Mon's back. Please. The 2 who had been meditating entered the room. We will inform to others. You guys go ahead. Thank you. Pool players nodded and walked after the 2. The rest of the people followed them. Naruto had just finished his last ball when door opened again. Wait here for a moment. He heard that red-haired woman saying and closing door behind herself. Are you finished? Boy nodded. Are you ready? He nodded again. Shall we begin then? Hannah turned back to the door and took a hold of the handle when Naruto stopped her. Wait, he said suddenly and red-haired woman stopped. What is it? Aren't you going to introduce yourself? Na asked. Hannah smiled. Silly me. She turned around. I am Akahana Misaki. I am the captain of the field support group. I specialize on medical jutsus and I like tea ceremonies. I hate people who act without thinking. Na nodded. Do I introduce myself to you now? If you want to, she answered. Okay. Which one? What do you mean? Will I use my old or the new one? Use the new one. Remember what the Hokage said. Always use your new one. Hannah said with harder voice. I am Naruto Uzumaki. I want to be a great ninja so people would stop hating me. He smiled. I like ramen and hate the time it takes to wait it to make it. Wonderful, said a voice outside. Man with pineapple-styled hair and wide grin stepped in. I just couldn't wait anymore. He stepped closer. Hannah walked next to Na, being able to support him. I am Shiaku Na. I am the lieutenant of the 2nd attack group. I specialize in my family jutsu, wonderful shadow manipulation. I like everything wonderful and I hate my older brother's lazy attitude. He smiled widely. One day I will teach you something wonderful and you don't need to introduce yourself anymore. Everyone outside heard it. Thank you, Shiakan. Hannah nodded. I appreciate this. Not at all, my friends. Not at all. He walked away. I'll see you soon, Naruto-kun. Na didn't know how to react on this. Is he always like that? He could feel tears in his eyes, but he put on a brave face. I am afraid so. Red-haired woman nodded. Next door opened again, and the woman who had taken care of the bonsai entered. She had dressed traditional Japanese kimono. Her brown hair was tied to even more traditional way as a pun on her head. Hello, Narokan, she smiled kindly. I see you met Shiaku. If he ever bugs you, just come to me. Okay, I would be more than happy to deal with him. She smiled, but Hana's angry glare made her to rush on the subject. I am Tant Sujiro, she bowed traditionally. I am the captain of an ANBU attack squad. I specialize on projectile weapons. I like my daughter Tenten, who shows great talent with the weapons too. Tea ceremonies, flower arrangement, and my husband and hate Shiaku Narukun and girls who try act like boys. If you need help, please come to me and I shall always do my best. Na bowed back, thinking that would be the most polite thing to do. Also, he could gulp his tears down while his face was down. Thank you, Tanti-san. Hana nodded. Brown-haired woman smiled and bowed again. Next one came in. He was the winner of the pool game. He was relaxing-looking guy with unruly brown hair. Yo, welcome to the house, Narut. I am Buki Sakasara. I am an ordinary ANBU who specializes in water jutsu. I like to kick some in pool and get my way with the ladies. I mean, I hate spicy food. He corrected himself after seeing a demon flying around the room, saying, You will not corrupt my nephew, you sick bastard. Na bowed again. I will teach you my techniques in the pool game when you grow up a little. Okay, see ya. He waved his hand and walked away. Then the loser in the pool entered the room. Hello there. He nodded bit coldly. He was more collected than the first player. I am Amaro Hibi. I am the lieutenant of the first attack group. I specialize in sudden kills. I like good challenge in shogi. What unfortunately is Shiaku-san, and I hate people who don't act like the god's gift to mankind. Na was sure that this person had some grudge against the last one. I will help you the best I can when the time comes. If you need something, come to me. He nodded and walked away before Naruto could bow like to others. Just when the door was opening and the next one was entering, window exploded and something came in. Hana stepped between the two, protecting Naruto with his life. He had no idea what was going on, so he grabbed the arms around him tightly and closed his eyes. He felt safe. Why didn't anyone bother to tell me that you were going to introduce yourselves to Na? Asked very sounding female voice. He narrowed his eyes and saw that the room was full of people holding their hands on their weapons and hands as seals. They started to relax when they recognized the person. Anko, they yelled angrily in chorus. What the fick was that about? Are you trying to kill him? Of course not. I am just making my entrance. Na turned his head and saw that woman with a trench coat standing in front of a large flag saying, Welko. Meet a ANBU brat. Hello, kid. She smiled widely. I am Anko Midarashi. I am the lieutenant of the interrogation group. I like dango and torturing people that I hate and wish to kill certain snake. I hate the people who don't learn and try harming innocent people. Then she winked to him. When you're old enough, I will buy you a drink. Anko-chan, Hana whispered, making the woman to step back. You broke the window. I suggest you go and repair it now. Ah. Okay. She smiled nervously. Well, I guess I am off to buying some glass. Ha. Bye. She jumped out of the window, leaving room full of people behind. Is she okay? Na asked quietly from Hana, who was still holding him. I don't know, she answered, shaking her head. But I do wish she would find a new hobby for herself. I am starting to get worried by the minute. Others nodded, agreeing. Let's continue where we left off, shall we? Red-haired woman said finally, and letting the boy sit down to the bed. So the morning went by, people introducing themselves to Naruto, whose head was spinning of all the new faces. They all seemed nice, liked him, promised to protect him and train him, help him if he ever needed it. And after the final person had introduced himself to him, he didn't know what to do. Expect cry. This surprised and didn't surprise Hana, who was now holding him. He had been so brave all this time, and now he was letting his tears fall down. Medic could feel her shoulder getting wetter from the tears he cried. Finally, she decided that perhaps it would be best to make him sleep a little. Dreamless sleep, she whispered quietly and touched the back of his head once more, and the boy went numb. She moved him to another room that didn't have so much draft and covered him nicely. Sleep now. She kissed his forehead and closed the door behind herself. She was feeling hungry and decided to visit the cafeteria. Cafeteria located near the clinic. All of the ANBUs in the base were now there for lunch, sitting around the round tables. As she walked, she got several questions how the little guy was doing. He's sleeping right now, she answered while collecting few supplies from the service line. A Coke, salad, sandwich, and such. Then she sat down to nearest table with a vacancy and stretched. Hard night, huh? Tanta asked while eating very ladylike. In the same table was sitting Ha and Chadao. You could say so, she answered. I am thinking showing him around soon as he wakes up. So could someone of you cover my shift? Sure. Chadao answered relaxed. It not like there's any big things happening. Expect this ambassador from Sunna, but that's not our problem. So sure. Thank you. I owe you one. Hannah smiled to the man. He was one of the youngest group captains in the history of ANBU and was proud of it and didn't mind advertising it. His dark gray hair was simple. You could pay it by. Man smirked a little. No. Hannah said coldly. How many times I have to tell you this? I am almost twice of age as you. He is 17 and she is 30-ish. That doesn't bother me. Young man tried to sound convincing. I think you look like a babe even if you're around 3. He couldn't finish the sentence because sudden fist hit his mouth. Thank you, Tantison. Red-haired woman smiled to her friend. Oh. I didn't do this for you. I saved his life by not letting you hit him. She smiled politely. That hurt, Chad muttered while standing his chair back up. Fine. I'll let you go for now, but next time, he dodged another hit coming from the weapon mistress. All right. Put I will have Naruto's first training lesson this week. Hannah nodded. Nothing excessive and I will be there all the time. Understood. Sure. Anything for my red flower. That day Chadao was glad being able to wear a mask. His face would have scared half of the people of the village away. Sparrow, come in, Sparrow. What's your status? His headpiece asked. Come in, Sparrow. Avaya IH in awe. He answered. His bruises prevented him talking any clearer. What's that, Sparrow? Repeat that. Chadao sighed inside his mask. This would be a long day. Meanwhile, Naruto was walking with his new guardian around the ANBU base. To him, it was an amazing place. On the first floor had the 3 separated dojus, pool area, and a gym. Second and third floor had ANBU quarters and also smaller common rooms. Fourth floor had the cafeteria and conference hall. Fifth floor had Danzo's office and his own and group captain's quarters and Naruto's from now on. Floor above had the clinic and the large common room and the common room's library. They were books and novels only. On the roof had another training area and the garden that was mainly Ta's property. On the first basement level had the armory. On the second level was the library. It was divided by public area and secret area. Public area had many injutsus, genjutsus, taijutsus, kenjutsus, information and secrets from E to B rank and also simple layouts on the currently residing Kek Genkis in Konoha. Secret area had everything else and was level below and it consisted from a rank jutsu's threats and information. Fourth level had the archives. 5th to 7th were prison cells. Na was currently on the roof looking down. It's so high, he whispered. Then he saw the unofficial festival that had started. Why they have to be so happy? He asked. Don't worry about them. Hannah whispered to his ear gently. Because from now on, you will be staying here. Those people won't hurt you ever again. Okay. Blonde boy nodded. Who is that? He asked when a certain ANBU rushed towards them. He had a cat mask and brown hair. That is Tenzoken, Hannah answered. You didn't meet him today because he was with Hokage, but now could be a good chance. Shall we? Na nodded. While they were walking towards the door that led inside, he spoke. I think I am going to like it in here. He whispered. Yes, you will. Red-haired woman answered and hugged him gently. And I am going to make everything in my power to make it sure that will never change. Now, let's get going. I am sure that Tenzoken is waiting to meet you finally face to face again. Hannah encouraged Naruto to kick the training dummy. She had dressed in her civilian clothes, purple jacket, and lighter shaded pants. Soon after the first day, they had started Naruto's training in the way of the shinobi. At this point, training was simple. 5 days a week they would study how to read and write, history, math, seal making, shinobi, 101 shaka basics, literature, human anatomy, normal kids stuff that they taught in the academy, mornings of study and afternoons some physical exercises. One day would be mixed between some light physical training and some very simple chakra control exercises. Last day would be his day off. That Na knew what to do with it. He never really had anything to do when outside except running ahead of mobs. So when Hana said that it was break time, he would only sit down and either continue studying or meditate. She had shown how Hana had tried to encourage him to get himself some hobby, but no luck so far. She was almost sure that even the kids in Nei had hobbies than him. Now was the day 6 in the morning, half of the training, and he was kicking and punching some small training dummy with his short hands and legs, or if you could call them kicks, more like a swinging one's leg to some direction until it hit something, but it was enough for Hana, who was supporting the dummy in front of him. They were currently on the roof. After their first visit there, it had become Naruto's favorite place in the whole building. Maybe because it was under open sky. Maybe it was because the large garden, or because there never seemed to be much people around. They would spend all their physical lessons on the roof. Na had once even asked if they could do their classes there too, but the wind was sudden and sometimes would send the sheets flying. This 1 week, Naruto had spent all his time in hospital bed at the clinic. Hana and all the other doctors had stated that he was not to move until he was fully healed. Kayabe's help or not, he was still 4-year child who had been through hell. But after a week of sitting patiently in the bed, Hana had realized that all the scrolls and books required their own place. Even though many doctors were happy of their patient, they were not so happy about all the mess the boy created. When he was left alone with his assignments, he seemed to be totally different person when no one was around or thought no one was watching. He started wander around, go through drawers and closets. Once he even lost himself to cafeteria. That's enough for now. Hana smiled to the boy and he stopped. He looked on the ground blushing. He just couldn't get used to the fact that someone actually complimented him and it seemed genuine. Why don't you rest while I take these dummies away? Sure. Boy nodded and walked to the garden. There were stoned paths. Tanta had said that if someone would value their lives, they would not walk of the path. He walked to the on of the benches in the garden. Tanta was currently watering her plants with some water jutsu, holding her hands in tiger seal, and small stream of water would fall from her extended fingertips. She had dressed her usual traditional wife attire. How are you doing? Narokan woman asked while turning around to water other plants. Even though she was specialist in weaponry, she also knew few effective water and earth jutsu. She was also very interested in Tenzo's Mikudan skills. Basically, if it would help her in her garden. She was interested. Naruto only shrugged quietly. After meeting everyone, Na had closed up himself pretty good and spoke rarely to anyone except to his guardian Hana, and everyone understood this aft. The hell he had been through. He maybe didn't hide himself behind her, but he certainly didn't speak to anyone. And if he did, he most commonly whispered something to his aunt, who spoke ahead. Everyone had started calling him as her nephew. Even though no one had explained why, he had figured it was because she took care of him. He had no idea that it was true. Tanta smiled to the boy and nodded. Keep it up, then. Na nodded and waved his legs in air while sitting on the bench. Hana walked into the small garden soon after and past the trees and different kinds of flowers. She walked on the stone path. There were even small rivers that squirmed between the small ponds in the garden. Another triumph to Tenzo's abilities. The roof was vast as the whole building, and the garden occupied roughly third of it. Even still, Tanta had considered expanding it. Hello, Tanta-sanan. Hana smiled to the woman, who smiled back. I was just demonstrating a simple watering jutsu to your nephew here. Brunette woman answered and turned around to the bench where the boy was trying to form a needed seal combination, but nothing really happened. You need to say it too, sweetheart, she said, correcting him. Remember Sweden. Watering jutsu. Hana cleared her throat. What do you think you are doing? Teaching something which will help him when he's gardening. Of course. Tanta answered patiently. No. Hana stepped between the two and he stopped immediately, forming the hand seals. We talked about it. You will not learn any jutsu before we have taught you the basics. Remember. Boy nodded quietly. You shouldn't be so hard on the boy. Weapon mistress scowled her friend. He's eager to learn new jutsu. That is always a good thing. Even though he's only barely able to mold chakra, Hana asked, narrowing her eyes. Well, you are starting with the chakra control exercises, aren't you? Ta asked. Well, as might start by aiming high. My nephew isn't some nay freak who doesn't even know how to smile. I understand that. Ta nodded patiently, but little sweat wouldn't hurt him, you know. Hana frowned and looked at Naruto, who was already forgotten the watering jutsu and was chasing a butterfly with his eyes. He seemed forgotten his usual shyness and smiled widely as the beautiful bug landed on his nose. Then it continued its journey towards another interesting flower. Nah, let's take a break. She finally said, let's go see how others train, shall we? Boy nodded and jumped off the bench. As they exited the garden, they saw one of the Uchihas meditating in the middle of the roof. Naruto didn't really remember anything of him. Except that he was Uchiha. The fan on his back gave him away. He always was more cautious of his own actions when he saw one of them, remembering how the military police had treated him. Man opened his eyes and nodded in his typical Uchiha manner. Good day, Naruto-kun, he said politely. The boy only stepped closer to Hana, who was little worried of this. He wasn't that cautious with anyone else. He maybe was quiet, but this was absolutely worrying. Good day, Kabad-san. She answered on his behalf. Man returned to his meditation as they walked past them. Hana had never liked the Uchiha clan. Sure, they were the strongest clan in Konoha. Sure, they were all great ninjas who had strong dojutsu, but that was all. They were all arrogant, inbreeding idiots who thought that they were on the top of the world. True, they were much warmer than Hyuga, but still they thought that there was no equal to them. Idiots. And her real resentment had started when she had seen how military police acted. Police protect and serve who keep order and law in the streets were abusing young child just like he was some thief. She knew that not everyone inside the ANBU liked the idea of having Keilu vessel inside the base, but each and every single one of them carried out the duties as Konoha's elite. Some of due scare of Danzo's revenge, but still, and that was only a clear minority which remained silent. She could only to wonder, was Kabat Uchiha on Naruto's side or against him? Not that really mattered, but so she knew who she needed to be careful of. She needed to see underneath the underneath. She snorted. If Hina would hear her now, she would laugh. She had always taught Manito's favorite praise was so stupid. She looked at Naruto, who had gazed up on sudden noise. She only smiled and petted him. They walked down the staircase to floors below. Na saw glimpses of people inside the common rooms and cafeteria and so on until they reached the first floor in the long hallway that had several doors. Most of them had only training equipment like wooden weapons, training dummies and such. But there was also 4 other doors that had sings on top of them. 2 of them were dojus. They heard voices of intense training inside. Third one was the gym and she could hear the sound of some very untasteful music and the sound of metal hitting against the metal inside. Fourth was the pool area where he had yet to visit. Hana had said that this week there was intense water jutsu training going inside, so it was temporarily closed. This had risen more than few annoyed objections from females of ANBU who wanted to bath. There were showers in each smaller common rooms and group captains' quarters, but they just wasn't enough. Some women were simply too feminine to be satisfied with that Tanta and Hana being top samples. For a moment, Hana had thought that showing Naruto some more effective water jutsu would bring some natural curiosity and would help the boy to interest in chakra control exercises. But then the hallway started flooding with water and the door to the pool area seemed to be breaking at any minute. Ow. So she stepped to another of dojus and pulled her nephew behind. She slammed the door behind him just in time before a powerful stream of water flushed through the corridor. You idiot, someone yelled. I told you it wouldn't work. At least I tried something, you pansy. Jutsu's caster yelled back. You can go to hell. Oh. Really? Take this. Sweden. Dakufu no Jutsu. Grand Waterfall Technique. Roll over and die. Sweden. Sukoten. No Jutsu. Water Shark Missile Technique. Hana sighed. Why did men had to be such children? And why she had to be the responsible one ever since they were kids? Hina always get them into trouble and she got them out of it and took all the blame. But did it really hurt her colleagues act little more their age little what their positions required? They were ANBU for crying out loud. She raised her gaze to realize that she had chosen the dojo that was usually used for weapon training. Na was already hypnotized by all the shiny swords, spears, canis and all. The way they flew from other side of the room to the other only to be blocked and thrown back. Maybe it wasn't a bad choice after all to bring young Naro here. At least now he shows some open interest. She walked him to other side of the room where was pillows on the floor to sit at. Narad sit quietly but wide-eyed to show that others displayed. Nearest couple was man named Shadoweye and some older man. Naruto tried hard to remember his name. It was feudal. Most of the name he had learned during his first day had been flushed off by solemn week that he had spent on the clinic. Hana had said that he wasn't allowed to leave the clinic until they were sure that he was completely healed. People did visit him, but not everyone had much time in their hands. His eyes took over his mind again. He concentrated to this match. Chadao-san was using a typical ANBU sword when his opponent was using a Naganatada scarrel-looking spear. They had dressed in traditional training gowns. Men's eyes were narrowed as they glared at each other. Then one flash of light and they were on opposite ends of the room and the older guy was on his knees. He coughed little blood. Damned, he whispered. Have you trained at all? Chadao asked amused. Or what's wrong with you? My girlfriend, man said, whipping the blood from his cheek. She started being all moody and stuff lately. Really? Younger man walked to his side and looked at him curiously. What happened? Did you say someone else's name in bed? Told her about last Saturday. Come on, you can trust me. Older guy only glared at him. What you did last Saturday? Hana asked, narrowing her eyes. Maram-san man turned around frightened. Hana Tao, how nice to see you. And Narutkan, how's your studies? Good, I hope. Boy shot his gaze to the ground quickly as he could, but nodded, but only barely noticeably. Maram-san Hana said warningly. Did you do something last Saturday? Of course not. Chadao is only joking around. Aren't you Chad-san? Other guy smiled. What brings you here? You rarely train at the dojo. Because of a reason, she said coldly. I considered that Narutkan would like to see some sparring. Maram, you know what is this building's policy in two-timers? She narrowed her eyes again, releasing her killer intent, and all the action in the room stopped. She, Enko, Tanta, Ha, and several other female ANBUs had made sure that inside their base had not a single two-timing bastard by nearly killing one guy who had the courage to brag of his achievements in cafeteria. He would have died without emergency care of Hana, but would never again practice two-timing. It would be a miracle if he could even have one girlfriend. That's why I am telling it's not that. Last Saturday, me and some guys were drinking and I accidentally drank a bit too much. That's it. Okay. He stopped talking when he realized that everyone else in the dojo were looking at him and grinning. Even Naruto in secret. Man, Maram, you really need some time off. Someone said before the guys could start childish bickering. Hana cleared her throat. Maran, when you say that she acting all moody, what do you mean? You know, moods chancing rapidly. She's sleepy all the time, complaining about pain in her lower back. He listed all the symptoms. Hana saw where this was heading already. And when she's finally is in a good mood, awake without pains in her back, she starts puking. Red-haired medic ended. How did you know? Man asked impressed. It's not anything serious, is it? Quick question. Has her grown a cup size or two? She asked this with purely medical curiosity. But when she had asked it, all the guys in the room started grinning, all perverted, except Mammy, who was reeling embarrassed. Well, now that you think about it, Posey. Oh. Grow up already. Hana screamed angrily to others. Yes or no? Yes. Man nodded. Okay, this is very simple. Red-haired medic nodded, recognizing the symptoms. Go and take a day off. Go buy some flowers and chocolate. Visit the jewelry store and buy a golden ring. Hurry to her and ask her to marry you. What? Maram blinked. What the heck is wrong with her? Just go or I will castrate you personally. Men gulped in the room and looked at Marami, who only nodded and disappeared in a flow of leaves. Na watched this technique wide-eyed. If he had that before, he could have escaped from bad people. Chadao looked little puzzled. What was wrong with his girlfriend? She is pregnant, Hana said, smiling to Naruto's stunned expression. And soon he is going to be married. Then she looked up. Who will do his shift? Well, Chadao smirked a little. I was kind of hoping that you would let me train Naruto or something. We did agree on that. You want me to leave him alone with you. She said, "Are you mad?" Na heard the request and shifted little closer to his guardian. He didn't want her to leave him. Not now, not ever. She was kind and warm, something he thought a mother would be. He had met Chadao a few times. He wasn't bad as the villagers, but he still didn't want her alone with him. What if he was waiting for a chance to kill him? As soon as Hannah looked the other way, he would be beaten to death like so many times before. He didn't want that to happen. He unintentionally touched her jacket and took a hold of it like from a security blanket. This move wasn't left unnoticed from anyone inside that hall. "Hannah-san, I know you're worried of him. I can understand that." Chadao lowered himself closer to Na. "But you are also an ANU group captain and the best field medic there is. You won't be able to look after him all by yourself. You must let others have a chance." He looked at Na, who has still holding Hannah's jacket and looking directly to his knees. Hannah gulped. He was right. During this week, she hadn't let Na alone even in bathroom. Not that the boy had ever complained about it. But even though she had a mission to look after and evaluate him, that didn't mean it would last forever. Sooner or later, she would be sent for another mission that always could be her last. And it was for the best of Naruto to interact with someone else once in a while. Otherwise, he just might turn into what she feared the most. Nay, freak, who didn't even know how to smile or to speak, understood. She was almost sad that the base denied access to anyone else, the authorized personnel. He could use some peers to help him out of his shell. And it was almost sad that all the kids had to stay outside. Almost. Her expression hardened when she remembered how other kids had treated him. Almost as bad as the adults, if not worse. And only kids in the building were those Nay freaks. She could imagine them playing with Na. Image of two kids throwing can at each other came to her mind. Shadow looked at little boy's eyes. They hadn't moved an inch from the floor. "Naruto, are you hungry? Do you want anything to eat?" Boy only shook his head quickly. Hannah touched her stomach over dramatically. "I think I am. Why don't you accompany me to cafeteria? Tenzo will be there. You like Tenzo, don't you?" Boy only shrugged quietly. That was an understatement. When they had met for the first time, man had calming aura around him. It was most likely due his mood skills that calmed Kayabi inside the boy. But to Naruto, man was made him feel quiet. He didn't understand it any other way. But that didn't mean he trusted him. He did smile a lot more around the man and had even once laughed when he had played with him using his skills growing trees around him, making him reach high places or tickled him. But even he hadn't been able to break the boy's silent wall. They left, leaving people back to what they had been doing. The corridor was now cleaned from the flood that had occurred just few moments ago. But the voices of the pool area hadn't yet silenced. They were still in the middle of a fight. Na looked little curiously to their direction, but didn't say anything. He only followed his guardian up the staircase. They arrived moments before the lunch rush. Hannah picked what he thought Naruto would like and led him to table. While they were sitting alone inside the empty cafeteria, she decided to break the news to him. "Naruto-kun, I want to talk with you," she said gently, not sure how she should start. Boy looked up frightened, thinking the worst. "It's nothing like that," she assured him, guessing his thoughts. "I just have to leave you with someone else for a few hours later today." Boy looked little more scared and shook his head silently. "I am sorry, but I have to. I sent the man who had to work, so it's my responsible to do his work. You don't want me to get into trouble, do you?" Blonde boy thought for a moment and looked down. "I don't want you to go," he whispered weakly. "I know you don't, and I don't want either." She touched his hair. "But I made this mess, so it's my duty to clean it." "I still don't want you to go," he repeated. "Don't worry about it. It'll be gone only for a few hours, and I will always be 5 minutes away from you. So, if anything happens, remember that in 5 minutes, I will be holding you." Red-haired woman took him in her arms and hugged him tightly. "And besides, you're a big boy now, aren't you?" He nodded quietly. "Remember that I'll have Chadkan or Tenzon or Tenizan to look after you. You like them, don't you?" "I don't know," he whispered. "Wood guy seems okay. Flat lady is nice. Chadao-san, I don't know hey why I don't get a nickname." Speak of the devil man had followed them soon after when his training partner had disappeared. There was also Tenzo looking passive as always and K. Akashi Sanyu back silver-haired man raised his hand lazily yo and they all entered the cafeteria and after picking their lunch they joined to their table next to Naruto who had went silent immediately. Kakashi sat opposite side next to Hana. Shadow sat between her and Naruto. He was still trying to make the boy talk by suggesting some nicknames for himself. How about Fire Master? I kick with fire jutsu, he suggested, but the blonde boy only shrugged his head. Then Mokuden user surprised him by making his chair rise higher. He started smile first lightly, and then the man made the stool shook a little, and his grin grew wider, but he remained silent as he grabbed his seat so he wouldn't fall down. So, how's Naruto? Kakashi asked, looking at the sight of a smiling boy on higher seat than others. Quiet, Hana asked, smiling herself to boy's happy face. Shadow added his own part by creating a small fire hurricane to his hand. It was his own creation while he was still a jonin. It was fairly simple, close-range jutsu that had similar effect as the Raisin and Chidori, but much more simpler to learn and not as effective. It was called Kaki Hurricane, Fire Hurricane. But to the boy in front, it was an amazing show. He doesn't talk much, only in private, and even then only few selected words. It takes so much of me to not go and kill everyone in this damn village. She lowered her voice so the boy wouldn't hear. Kakashi nodded, understanding. It can't be helped, but at least now he is safe. We only need to find a way to open him up. It would be a lot easier if he had any peers to be with, she muttered and leaned to her hands. I am afraid that he will grow to someone with no emotions at all. Only capable for complete the mission and to wait for the next. I don't think you should be afraid of that. Silverhaired smiled under his mask. Look at him. Hana raised her gaze. Boy was laughing. There was no sound, but his grin was giving it away. He looked around how Tenzo played with his Mokuden skills. How Chad used his own fire jutsu arsenal. And then Shiaku appeared with his squad and rushed over to their table smiling. He made his effort to make Naruto break from his shell by creating boy's shadow to turn into most funny shapes. Okay, Naruto-kun, try again, but this time hold your chakra long as you can. Hana observed from side. They were standing on the roof again, but this time they had chosen another training site from the middle of the garden. Soft tune of shamisen surrounded them played by Hakana. She was very musical woman who enjoyed the sound of her own played music. And while she seemed to be completely occupied with her sound, she stole quick looks of them. The boy was the son of Yandi. Could he live up to his father's name? Boy collected all the chakra he could everything and was struggling to keep it up. Hyuga lady didn't know why drove her to do this, but she activated her Byakugan and watched the boy's chakra control. That moment, she noticed two things. 1. Boy's control was a mess to a 4-year-old with ninja inheritance. All his chakra was divided irregularly around his body. Most of it seemed to be circling around the weird chakra way in his system around his stomach. That must be Kayabe's seal, she thought. The other thing she noticed that made her more worried was he had currently enough chakra as an average genin. 4 years old and enough chakra as 14-year-old kid approximately age when genins enter the Chunin exams for the first time. Then she noticed that smallest visible amount of red chakra appeared from the seal and started to move around inside his blue chakra and everywhere it went it caused weird effects. First the red chakra drove the blue chakra away of it and the next moment it was like a magnet which pulled all the blue chakra towards it. It slowly reached his head and the boy's concentration was lost and most of the chakra disappeared. It continued its way out of the head when it suddenly withered away. But Hana saw that there was still a small amount of blue chakra running around him. And sometimes a red chakra spike appeared from the seal, shaking everything up. Was Yandai's seal supposed to work that way? That was very good, Naruto-kun. Hana praised the little boy who looked down blushing again and with confused feelings. He was happy and doubtful and blushing and holding back tears. He hadn't shed a single tear since the first day, but they seemed to be around the corner all the time. All the confusing feelings disappeared when red-haired medic started checking him up for possible chakra exhaustion and was surprised. When the boy was barely winded. Normally, that kind of amount would have taken a lot more than few drops of sweat from a 4-year-old kid. You have amazing stamina, she praised again, even though she expected knowing what the reason was. She smiled and nodded. You did great. Now go and wash your face in the river and try some of the meditation exercises which I told you about. Boy nodded and walked away. When he was walking away, Hana saw this as a chance to go and talk to her. She carried her shamasan in her lap and walked to her. The woman was culling the few exercise gear that she had loaned from storage. One was a simple ball. A person would put chakra into it and try to make it glow. Teacher would tell him to raise or to lower the chakra. Lower the chakra, dimmer the light, and the opposite. The other one was kind of Rubik's Cube. This exercise needed much more complicated and needed much control. Person would try to get cubes' sides moving in particular order. Cubes and sides were designed so it would be affected by chakra. There were others, some would be simpler, others harder, but Na didn't try any of them. She had only shown him and told that when he would be able to pass all these, he would have the control of a medic. She was considering training the boy with her own skills so she wouldn't need to worry of him getting into a battlefield and getting killed in a first chance he got. She knew it was a helpless dream knowing his parents, but there was always a chance, right? She had also said that before she wasn't satisfied with his control, he wouldn't be allowed to learn a single jutsu. Now she was collecting them back to a bag where she had carried them. Hana-san, may I have a word? Higher woman said with usual cold voice. Yes, of course. What is it? She turned around to face the black-haired woman. It's about Naruto-kun's training you did just now, and she explained what she had seen. I was wondering, is the seal malfunctioning or was it supposed to work that way? Hana gave a cornered look to the boy who was meditating by looking at the river and the little fishes it had. I have patrol duty soon. I will ask Hokage-sama about it also. But thank you for telling me. Not at all. Ha nodded. His pale eyes scanned through the area. Even though my clan is not as open-minded as they maybe should be, they can't ask me to abandon Manado-sama's son. Hana nodded. I was wondering how your niece. She is Naruto's age, isn't she? Hana nodded. Hinata-sama's 4th birthday is at the end of this December. She is doing fine considering what happened few months ago. Horrible. I still can't believe that leader of the cloud was acting so low. Hana shook her head. How's his son doing? Nay, wasn't it? Yes. He is totally closed himself from rest of the clan. He only spends his days training and more training. Hakuna showed little emotions when she talked about him. Boy lost his father and is blaming the main family for it. No one really knows what to do. He's only 5. I am sure that when he grows up, he will understand. Hana touched her friend's shoulder gently. I hope so. Danzo was reading some of the old reports regarding for some matter when he heard door opening. There had been no knock, so he was curious to see who would have the guts to enter his office without his permission. What is it? He asked angrily, not turning around, even if he wanted to. What are you doing? Asked curious little voice as the door was closed behind it. Now the councilman had to turn around. Naro, what brings you here? He asked from bright yellow-haired boy who scanned the office with his eyes. Did something happen? They had only seen each other once since the first day and it was only been a quick checkup. Now the boy had made his way to his office. Aunt Hannah had to go somewhere. He didn't really understand what this patrol or shift was, but it seemed important. She asked Woodgie to look after me. So why are you not with him? Man asked more curiously that he had wanted to admit. I run. Boy said simply, I was bored. He walked to one of the shelves and pulled out a scroll. Danzo rushed to him and snapped it away from him. They glared at each other angrily. It was true that Hannah was the only person who Na talked to, but also the only person could control Na. They had been on the roof where Tenzo had played with the boy when they had heard a fight. Shiaku and Hakia were arguing about something, or it was more like the Hyuga who screamed and Naru only smiled and kept repeating. Wonderful. So he had decided to go and calm them down. That was a mistake. After 2 minutes of talking calmly, it was all settled. Expect that Naro had disappeared. That was a mystery to everyone how he had managed pass all the people on the roof, staircase, and the building to Danzo's room unnoticed. Even to Na himself, he was only bored looking there fighting and had decided to look around. Before he knew it, he was glaring at the bandaged man inside his own office. Na didn't know why, but this man made him lose all his guard, just like the opposite. He didn't wear his polite smile, but was glaring angrily at the boy who had dared to invade his privacy for something trivial as being bored. Then he sighed, it couldn't be helped. Might as well ask something and take a look after his progress. How's your training going? He asked, sitting to his pillow on the floor. I've heard that you've been concentrating on your studies more than your skills. Aunt Hannah said that I should know all the basics before I do anything else. He shrugged and walked around. Don't touch anything. Man muttered warningly. That's good. Did she introduce you to any of the chakra control methods? Some toys. Boy shrugged. Today I only had to mold chakra. It made me feel dizzy and hot. I see. Man nodded and returned his attention back to his reports. Do you like it here? Boy shrugged. Don't know. He looked around curiously and started digging everything in sight. Naruto, where are you? Tenzo yelled, worried. Anything? He asked from Hana, who was using her bi organ. No. She shook her head. I am so dead. Tenzo screamed, terrified. When Hana finds out I lost Naruto, she will kill me. This is bad. Not wonderful at all, Shiaku said, looking around. How could you lose him? Kakashi asked, wide-eyed. He is 4 years old, for Christ's sake. I am sorry, Kakashi-seni, but I only turned my back for 2 minutes and he had disappeared. Mikuden user explained in shame, and you have checked the entire roof. Silver-haired man looked around. Hakia-san used her bi organ. Tenzo answered, this is bad. Kakashi whispered and thought it for a minute. Okay, Shiaku, you and Ha visit the dojo and made your way up. Me and Tenzo work our way down. We meet halfway. Don't mention this to anyone. If Hana finds out we lost him, we all be doomed. Go. Both of them nodded and disappeared. Let's go. Tenzo nodded and they rushed down the staircase to the lower levels. They looked everywhere. They visited the dojos, the storages, quarters, clinic, cafeteria, and he was nowhere to be found. After 1 hour, Hana's shift was coming to nearer and nearer to an end. And so were the lives of the peoples who were looking for Na. Where he is? Tenzo asked out loud, looking around furiously from places he couldn't possibly be. Na was on the roof. Soon after he had left the bandage man, he had found himself on the garden from the same spot he had mediated earlier this day. Evening sun was setting, coloring everything orange. Hello, he trembled when someone called for him. There hadn't been anyone since he had arrived here. He turned around and saw a boy standing in front of him. He was older than himself. That much was obvious. What are you doing here? Na only shrugged and didn't answer. Who are you? Boy asked and stepped closer. Naruto stood quickly up and backed away with accusing face. Oh. You want to know my name first? I am Itachi. Itachi. He bowed in high manner. When he looked up, he saw that the boy was even more frightened than before. Had it something to do with his name? He observed the boy quickly. Boy was young, not more than 4. He could have been a name member, but they didn't leave their personal base without a reason. And that boy was way too emotional to be one of them. Fear could be seen from his eyes when he looked up to him. I don't hurt you, Itachi said quietly. Tell me what's your name. But the boy didn't answer. He remembered all the police officers in the streets. And this must have been same kind of man. Although they hated him only because something his father had done to him. It was not fair. Listen, if you don't tell me your name, you have to come with me. Black-haired boy said gently and extended his arm. Don't worry, I won't hurt you. You're lying. Na screamed. You all lie. I remember. I asked help from police, but they only ignored me or hated me like all. Go away. Rage in his words had surprised the Uchiha prodigy. What you mean? Kona has military police treat every. Then he finally noticed the 6 whisker-like marks on boy's cheeks. He had often heard how many of the officers hated the demon who had the guts to come beg for help. But that boy had been killed. His father had himself said so on the day he had been called for an emergency meeting to ANBU HQ later. He had been late when his father had told him that the Yuchiriki had been killed. He himself had no opinion on the boy. He may be the demon vessel, but it had nothing to do with him. Itachi had promised to protect the village and that he would do. But he still couldn't understand how the child was still alive. More than that, what was he doing on the roof of the base? He was sitting on the middle of Tantisan's garden, and she would freak if she would find out. But the boy didn't seem to trust him at all. He looked at him. He was young and short. He had bright blue eyes that looked frightened, but still had a fire on them, while he glared back up to him. Quickly, he remembered his little brother, but shook that out of his mind. Boy looked around furiously. Was he waiting for someone? What are you doing here? He asked, trying not to sound himself. This is Tanti-san's garden. She is very protective of this place. Aunt Hannah said, we would train here. Na answered with shaking voice. Go away, Aunt Hannah. You mean Akahana Taiko? Older boy asked, frowning a little. What was her relationship to this boy? He looked around. The sun was setting fast and it would get rather cold soon. We should get inside. We can look for Ahana Tao after that. No. Boy screamed and hid his hand down. Go away. Leave me alone. All you leave me alone. Itachi had a feeling he hadn't felt for years. Not since he had first tried to use a jutsu in his life. He was feeling helpless. He had never dealt with this kind of boy who refused to accept help. It didn't make any sense. It would be logical to come inside and to trust him. He was older and an ANBU. Then he realized what the problem was. Boy didn't know it. He knelt to his feet and bowed. I am sorry for my rudeness. I am Itachi Arabuki her clan and currently working as an ANBU Black Op. Who are you? Na thought it for a minute. Maybe it wouldn't be bad to answer to him. Maybe he could go away if he did. I am Na and I stay here. But if you stay here, you'll catch a cold. No, I won't. I never catch cold. Na said coldly. Go away. I don't want to be near of you. Itachi kept himself from sighing. Good ninja never showed his feelings. Fine. He sat next to the boy. We wait here for Akahana Taiko's return. Na didn't understand what he meant but didn't sit down, only glared at the older boy who began to meditate. Did everyone do that? It was so boring. Moon is big. Dark boy said slowly, looking up. Sun had finally said and they were looking up. I guess it's a full moon. He whispered and shook his head. How long have you been here? Boy shrugged. A week. He answered slowly. I've been in the force for 2 weeks now. He answered. Do you want to be a ninja again? Naruto shrugged. Everyone's helped me to be one. Don't go down that path, Itachi said quickly. Don't fall because everyone else is pushing you down. Make your own path. Naruto's legs started to tire and somehow he felt enough relaxed to sat down. And somewhere inside the base, 3 guys were getting kicked out of them by angry women. So guys, what do you think about this Naruto story? Tell me your opinion in the comments. And if you want more Naruto what if stories, make sure to subscribe to Universe of Naruto. Thanks for watching.